How's it going, everyone? It's Sam. We just had Jerome Powell speak, and he pretty much crashed the market. When you look at some of the cryptocurrency prices over the last hour, let's see, 3.5% down, 5% down, 6% down, 5% down, 5% down. I want to talk about this, talk about what Jerome Powell said, what they did, why Bitcoin is down 5%, why it's down to almost $100,000, and whether now is a time to reposition into other assets. Are you scared enough? Are you too scared? We'll talk about all that. Stay through to the end of the video because I'll give you my honest thoughts on where this market is heading and where we are right now. If you don't mind, hit subscribe. Turn on the bell notification underneath the video so you can see future videos just like this. I talked about this trend line, how it would be bullish even if we went down to $100,000. If we went down to this line, and what do you know? We went to exactly the line that I had drawn and started to bounce up. Of course, we could always fall down further, but if you do want to trade crypto, there's a link to BTCC underneath the video. You get a 10% deposit bonus, and you get lower trading fees. I added to some positions, some long positions on this dip. I'm excited. I think this is a good time to be in the market, and I think this is pretty healthy, but we'll get to it. As you can see, VOO, the S&P 500 dropped pretty substantially while Jerome Powell was speaking after the Fed decision. We have altcoins dropping heavy, and a lot of people worried about what Jerome Powell just said. He said a variety of things. First of all, let me be clear, they did cut by 25 basis points. There is some repricing of rate cuts next year. We were expecting 4 rate cuts. Now it looks like the Fed is projecting 2 rate cuts. So it does look like there's maybe going to be a higher interest rate throughout the year next year. They're not going to ease quite as quickly as some people thought. Now, typically, I think this is really important, right? As rates get lower, the risk-free rate of return also gets lower, so people invest in more risk-on assets. There is one difference, though, now. I think you have to be aware of this for Bitcoin. The big narrative right now is nation-state adoption. Our country is going to say, interest rates are at 4.25, not at 3.75, so let's hold off on buying Bitcoin for another year. No, they're not going to say that at all, right? If the big narrative is nation-state adoption and large companies and countries buying Bitcoin, will that really slow down if interest rates are slightly higher than expected? I don't think so. Obviously, there's the case where there is the thought process that some hedge funds will invest maybe a little bit more carefully in a higher interest rate environment. Wealthy individuals will be a little bit more in cash. Retail investors, same thing. But the fact is, nations aren't going to make their decisions based on the U.S. interest rate being 0.5% higher than expected. Same thing with some of these large companies like MicroStrategy. They're not going to say next Monday, well, we only bought $1 billion instead of $2 billion because of the Fed projection. No, they're going to continue to buy hand over fist. And actually, we have Michael Saylor talking about how they're buying right now. We'll talk about that later in the video. But I do think you have to pay attention to that. That is the narrative this cycle, is nation-state adoption, and that does not change based on interest rates, as opposed to last cycle where, you're looking at retail investors and billionaires. It does matter a lot more, the interest rate. So just something to pay attention to. Of course, there could be large sell-offs from the ETFs today, to be clear. That could be something. Or, long-term holders could sell because they're worried about the economy moving forward, or they're worried about interest rates. That's actually why we took a dip yesterday. Sell pressure is immense from long-term holders. A further 40,000 Bitcoin were sold off yesterday. Market has absorbed almost 1 million Bitcoin. The train isn't stopping. Bitcoin continues to move up in price, even with these long-term holders selling significantly. Long-term holders are taking profits. Now, at the same time, BlackRock bought $2 billion worth of Bitcoin in 5 days. So BlackRock is buying all the long-term holders' bags. There could be a change too, where some long-term holders are moving over to ETFs for various reasons. Maybe they want easier access to loans. Maybe they want to sell calls. Maybe they just don't want to hold their Bitcoin themselves. I think there's definitely a rotation when these ETFs came out from some holders that had just spot Bitcoin, and then they wanted to hold an ETF instead. We also have Jerome Powell saying that he thinks we've avoided the recession, which is good, right? That's actually really good. But, because of the interest rates not going down quite as fast, we have the DXY spiking up, which is causing other assets to fall down in price. We also have Jerome Powell. After someone asked him, what do you think about a strategic Bitcoin reserve? He said basically, well, the Fed can't hold Bitcoin, and we don't want to change the laws on that. I thought that was kind of weird because the Fed isn't the one that's going to hold the Bitcoin. It's the Treasury. So that seemed really random. I think he was trying to get at the fact that there's no point in asking him. There's no point in asking Jerome Powell what he thinks about strategic Bitcoin reserve, except for just asking his opinion, which he can't really give his opinion anyway. So he's just saying, we're not going to deal with it. But a lot of people are doom posting on Twitter that the Fed can't hold Bitcoin. This means that the US will not hold Bitcoin. That's not the case at all. To be clear, though, we can fall under $100,000. I think that's fine, actually. As I've been showing into the Cryptoverse, there's a 10% off code on this, by the way, with the link underneath the video. You can see as we come down in price, risk gets lower. The chances of a blow off top lower. So if you're thinking you want to be in this asset and you want the cycle to be extended a little bit, if you want not some blow off top where you have a couple days to nail the peak, but you want sustained high prices for Bitcoin, you want cool off periods. To be clear, we're down 7% from the all-time high. 7%. That's nothing. If we fell down 20%, that would still just be a healthy correction in a bull run. That would bring us back to prices that we have not seen since last month, about a month ago. We were at 93,000 on December 3, 2 weeks ago. We were at 91,000 12 days ago. So yeah, the fact is we can fall further, and this does not change the bull market at all, the bull market thesis. Now, I want to go over here. Michael Saylor, obviously one of the biggest buyers of Bitcoin recently. The host asks him, okay, how are you buying Bitcoin right now? Are you going through exchanges? You're buying in bulk. How are you getting a hold of this Bitcoin?
We use regulated exchanges in the United States like Coinbase. And when we're buying, we'll be buying on a simple TWAP algorithm. So our goal is to not be noticed by the market, not to move the market. If anything happens with the Bitcoin price or even with the MicroStrategy price, it isn't us. Our objective is to basically be market participants, but never move it up or down or be noticed.
They are buying all the time, and you won't see it coming, right? They just continue to add consistently. So no one ever can tell by the price of MicroStrategy or the price of Bitcoin. They are just swallowing up Bitcoin whenever they have a chance using TWAP. They're just dollar cost averaging into the market all the time. There are going to be other people that try to do this as well, but eventually, people run out of Bitcoin to buy, and then the price goes up. So this little cool down period, I think, is bullish. Again, it lowers the risk of some blow off top scenario. It gives you a better buying in price if you're still trying to dollar cost average into Bitcoin. And it gives you a time where you can trade. It gives you a chance to get in on previous resistances or supports and set up a new trade when you're not at all-time highs, which is good. I like to see pullbacks. Some of my biggest trades were when we were in that $50,000 to $70,000 range. When we saw those pullbacks to the lower 50,000s, that is an extremely bullish time to be buying when we're already down 20, 30% from the peak and we're at significant support levels. What if we do the same thing here? What if you can get in on Bitcoin right at 100K, we bounce right off, and then we continue on, strategic Bitcoin reserve happens, etc., etc. we might not ever have the chance to buy in the 80,000, 70,000, 60,000s again. Maybe you have a chance to buy in the 90,000s here when you're watching this video. Of course, do your own research. Thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. If you do want to trade crypto, there's a link to BTCC. Just make sure you understand the risks. Thank you so much, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.